Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Joining us, always a pleasure to visit with our next guest, former White House physician, current candidate up in Texas 13 for the Republican nomination for the 13th Congressional District. It's Dr. Ronny Jackson joining us here on the Chad Hasty Show. Good morning, Dr. Jackson. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, Chad. Thank you guys for having me. I'm awesome.
Great. Great to have you on. And so I hear tomorrow night you have a debate that y'all are going to be appearing in.
That's right. Wichita Falls. We're having the Wichita Falls Tea Party's putting on a debate at the Harley-Davidson place there in Wichita Falls. So it'll be our first debate. We had a couple that were before the election that Mr. Weingarner couldn't make work on his schedule. So looking forward to making this one work.
Well, and this is a race it's really getting going now. I know both of you are touting different endorsements that are out there. Tell folks, why, if they're in the 13th congressional district, obviously President Trump is going to need some help in the House. Why should they pick you? Why are you the best one to go to D.C. and help out the president?
Well, I'll tell you, Chad, because I got a relationship with the president. He and I have worked together for the last 3 years. He's got a lot of trust and confidence in me. He'll take my calls. He'll listen to me. And that's just that's a big advantage for the district. Otherwise, you're gonna have freshman congressmen in there with absolutely no influence whatsoever, no ability to really get anything done, and no voice. And I'm going to be the freshman congressman that's a big exception to that. I'm going to be able to go up there and engage cabinet secretaries, folks in the West Wing, the president himself. I've got relationships already with members of Congress that I've worked with over the last several years while I was in the Trump administration as President Trump's senior advisor, including a lot of folks in the Doctors Caucus regarding health care, but a lot of other folks up there that we can, but so I can, the basic reason is I can get things done and he can't.
I want to ask you, your opponent, according to a recent news story, lobbied to continue NAFTA, which is something that President Trump just absolutely hated, and was able to reform, and really people from both sides of the aisle, eventually the Democrats came along, but both sides of the aisle liked the USMCA deal instead of NAFTA. Your opponent wanted to continue NAFTA and also opposed the administration on some other things, including country of origin labeling. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, it just highlights what he's been doing for the last 14 years. He's a lobbyist for the Cattle Feeders Association, but he's a lobbyist. And not only is he a lobbyist, but he's lobbied pretty aggressively on several occasions, specifically against President Trump and President Trump's agenda, including NAFTA and the country of origin labeling. And, it's stated right there in public record that, his objective was to oppose the president on these issues and to defeat any legislation or anything the president might try to push with regards to these things. So I just think that, it's important for folks up here in the 13th Congressional District. They see what's been happening in our country over the last several years, with the rhinos that are out there, and there's a lot of them, and the deep state and the far left and the liberal press all going after President Trump on a daily basis, trying to undermine his agenda. He's out there, President Trump is trying to do great things for our for our country and for this district in particular. And he has a hard time getting things done because of these folks sometimes. And, this is just an example of what you're going to get in this race. You're going to get somebody like me who's going to have the president's back.
Oh, are you still there?
Who's going to support our president? Yeah, I'm still here.
You cut out just for a brief second. But I want to ask you, with the recent events that we've all been paying attention to, we've all been seeing that's gone on in the nation and the riots that have broken out after the death of George Floyd. How do you think the president has handled things? What do you think we as a nation need to do to move forward?
I think the president's handled things appropriately. I think his tolerance for some of these mayors and governors in these blue states that are putting their citizens at risk for political purposes, I think his tolerance for that is about done. I think that he's doing the right thing now. He's given them the ultimatum. You step up to the plate and you take control of your communities and protect your citizens, or I will. And I think that, not too many leaders, other than President Trump are willing to do something like that. But he is. I think he's doing the right thing. I think it's a shame what's happening in our country right now. I think it's disgusting. And, this is not about the death of Mr. Floyd anymore. It's about a bunch of criminals and thugs and anarchists taking advantage of the situation and victimizing law-abiding citizens and small businesses.
Well, I'll tell you, the media should take exception with the president's speech the other day in the Rose Garden. When he walked over to the church, they had a problem with that. But then last night, amazingly, you had cities and states start cracking down more, and you did not have as much violence in the streets. It's amazing how that happened.
Yeah, it sure is, isn't it? You step up to the plate and do something, and the left has been they've been hypocrites on a lot of issues, and this is one of them. Yeah,
absolutely. Tell folks how they can find out more about your campaign, whether they're in the 13th Congressional District or here in Lubbock, just listening and want to find out more about yourself and your campaign.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, which is www.Ronny Jackson, RONNY Jackson 4FOR Texas TAXAS 13. Ronny Jackson 4Texas13.com. You can find everything there, and you can find the link to my Facebook and my Twitter and enter everything else there. So you can look at videos I've been doing and ads and everything else. So encourage everybody to go there, learn a little bit about me. We're going to start early voting on June 29th. Election day is on July 14th. And get out and vote for Ronny.
By the way, before I let you go, we just had a texter who was asking, is the debate in Wichita Falls open to the public?
Yes, it is. Sure is.
Okay, great. All right. Well, we appreciate your time today, Dr. Jackson, and I'm sure we'll visit again while the voting goes on and before Election Day.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it. Great talking to you.
Thank you. That's Dr. Ronny Jackson here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO.